Check, check, quick sound check. Can everybody hear us loud and clear? Let's get a confirmation in the chat. What's going on, Coach Paul? Another one. I had a decent day. Not so well in the house account, was on fast markets, but in my own personal trading, was able to get on the right side of the market. So went pretty well. Hold on. They can hear me. They can't hear you. That's definitely not on your side. It's on mine. So I'm going to fix that in a second. All right, try it again, Coach.
Checking.
All right. You guys
Checking.
should be able to hear Coach Paul now.
10 push-ups for Coach Jay.
I'll get him right after the show.
I promise.
I think we should be good now. All right, we're good. There he is.
All right.
I'm still learning, guys. Producing the show, being the coach, trying to look good at the same time. It's a lot going on here, but thank you for the confirmation and appreciate the chat letting us know that you couldn't hear us. Welcome to At the Buzzer, our market recap. If this is your first time here, I am Coach Jay. That is Coach Paul. The goal of this segment is to review what happened in the markets for the day. We may talk about some markets that you have not traded before, but our goal as traders is to identify our opportunity, see how we could have taken advantage of those opportunities while managing our risk. And it is Friday, so bear with us on this one. If this is our first time meeting, I am Coach Jay. I've been a Topstep Performance Coach for a little over a year. I've been trading for 11 years, going on 12 now. Started off trading stocks and options and switched over to futures about 5 years ago. And that is my guy, Coach Paul. Coach Paul, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Thank you for that kind introduction, Coach Jay. Coach Paul. I've been with Topstep for about 15 months now. I've been involved in the futures industry for 4 decades. I've traded just about every contract that there is, and I've had good success and I've had failure. I've been consistent for the last 20 years, and I'm here to help share my story and then maybe impart some wisdom and help you, the new traders, get around the curve and become profitable.
And let's do it. If you were the trader that put up that post during Power Hour about learning volume, it was a very strange post, but I appreciate the sentiments. I'm happy that you could have learned something, although whatever that drawing was very interesting, but happy to hear that anything that we've been saying in this session has resonated and helped you with your trading. The way we're going to start
awesome.
every segment is with the top percentage movers. We're focused on the 3 to the downside, 3 to the upside. Coming in at number 3 to the downside was micro Bitcoin futures down 4.38%. The Nikkei down 4.75%, and micro Ethereum futures down 6.13% for our biggest percentage movers to the downside. Coach, we used to talk about these in the Discord class a lot, but the crypto market moving a lot like the equities right now. Not so much of a surprise that equities down big and crypto down big as well.
Yeah, this seems to be an overall liquidity crisis. Not yeah, I can't say crisis, but it's a lot of assets that seems to be are being liquidated. And
Yeah,
as we've talked about before, Bitcoin doesn't seem to be the safe haven. It was, to
once
me, it's
was.
become more like a stock.
Right.
As a trader, I think it's great.
Oh,
As an
yeah.
investor, I maybe not so great, but
Right.
some great moves.
Definitely
And some
so.
volatility is coming back. it's here. There was some vicious, or I shouldn't say vicious. That's a very relative term. If you were on the
If you
right
were
side
short,
of
they
it, those are
were
glorious.
victorious moves. Right.
Yeah. Let's put volatile moves.
For sure. For sure. And then to the upside, we had the Swiss franc, something that we have not talked about yet, up 0.21%. The Japanese yen up 0.74%, and nat gas, our biggest percentage mover to the upside, up 1.42%. For our big four markets, we have the ES down 1.84%, Nasdaq down 2.82%, crude oil down 1.49%, and gold, rounding it out, down 0.7%. We did have some news out. We know this week everyone was waiting for NFP. What was expected was 165,000. The number that was reported was 142. We talked about
Was
this.
that within the range of expectations? Do you know, Coach?
I do not
All right, I'm
know.
just curious.
I
Maybe
don't
someone in the
actually.
audience knows.
We also talked about a little bit sorry for the flashbang, but white screen
Wow.
there. But we talked about the potential rate cut that is coming up this in a few weeks. Probabilities right now are for a 69% probability of a 50 basis point cut. And the last time we checked this, coach, this was 35%. So an increase based on a lot of the data that we've seen coming out. The labor market looks weak. And the Fed, we had Fed Waller speaking today saying that he's looking at potentially a series of reductions being appropriate. So not just this one rate cut in September, but maybe for following meetings as well, looking at the Fed potentially cutting rates.
Well, we've been expecting that,
Yep,
but I think that with this movement this week, it's setting off some alarm bells.
for sure.
Um, wow, we finished at the lows of the week in the Nasdaq, didn't we?
Yes, we did. And let's start with the Nasdaq. And shout out to Coach Vince in the chat, and to all of you for joining us on this Friday. Thank you for spending some time with us. Let's go to the Nasdaq, Coach. As soon as this chart lets me do what I wanted to do, and I'm going to pull up your. Come on now, we can do it.
Everything's going slow.
It's Friday.
My, yeah, at this kind of close, servers get. Wow, we're making new lows as we speak.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll just go with it. I was trying to pull up Coach Paul's moving averages, but for some reason they're not. There we go. Now they want to come up. ES just dove off a cliff. Yes, so the markets are still moving, and I think that's why I'm seeing a little bit of a lag in TopstepX, but that's okay. Coach, we talked about the balance that we were in pretty much all week, and this week looks a lot like last week, right? Where we have balance over a couple of days, and then on Friday we sell off. We did the same thing. Here are our moving averages. The 200 moving average is the white one. Purple is the 50, yellow is the 20, and this is on a 30-minute chart. Coach, we've been under that 200 moving average pretty much all week. We've been talking about the market kind of stair-stepping lower, and it looked like it tumbled down the stairs today.
Yeah, that was it. Literally, that looks like a waterfall with the 20-day moving average,
Yep.
like or 20 bar moving average. But that whole time we've been under the 200. We haven't even challenged. And as we talked yesterday, we found that balance with that braiding of the 20 and the 50.
Mm-hmm.
It was interesting this morning when the news came out. We had, and we've talked about this. Make your decisions after, not before.
Yep.
And it was kind of like yesterday, very much like yesterday. The first half an hour we rallied, but what I've been noticing is under the 200, any kind of failure is exacerbated.
100%.
So in this case, a buying failure, and then we got back under VWAP from the open and never turned back. So that seems to me to be much like an institutional liquidation or funds. Just here, you want some? Here, I got some more for you.
Right. We're going to zoom out to a higher time frame chart in a minute, just because looking at some potential areas that the market can trade to or may be trading to. But the red line I just put on here, we talked about it a little bit yesterday as well. The weekly VWAP, we see it being a resistance, and we didn't get a a perfect test of it today, but looked up towards it and just showing us that sellers have been in control all week, and then not much of a surprise today. Let's zoom out again first. Let's go to a daily chart. And Coach, something I want to talk about on this daily chart, we when we started doing At the Buzzer on YouTube, we mentioned we were kind of seeing this rally, and maybe it was a short covering rally. It's kind of what it looks like now, where we talked about the lower volume that this price action was happening on, and I'm talking about the beginning of August. We're seeing now expedited moves to the downside on higher volume, uh, which to me kind of confirms that this might have just been short covering. Obviously, there are going to be some shorter time frame participants in here who are taking advantage to the upside, but these markets are very heavy.
Great. We've talked about that rally, and you nailed it. I got the volume as we talked about, and you nailed it perfectly. Low volume rallies under all-time highs. And the next thing that happened was we went sideways for a week,
Right.
and the ATRs or the VWAP, excuse me, ATRs of volatility came in
Hmm.
after rising, and now they're going the other way. So we're picking up momentum to the downside.
Definitely. Definitely.
It's so and volume.
Coach,
The
we're on a.
average volume, yeah.
Yep. No, go ahead. Go ahead. Finish that.
The average volume is higher right now than the average volume on the rally. So this is look what the low is.
I was just going to ask you what that white line was and what coach is talking about as far as the average volume goes. This is the blue line that you see on this volume indicator here is the average of 20 days, right? We're looking at a daily chart right now. This entire rally happened on below average volume. Look what happens as soon as we start getting increases or anything above that average, we start to come down. So I believe that this is, convinced selling, whether these are, sellers getting short the market or taking positions, taking off positions, right? Maybe taking profits from the rally that we had for the year. Because if you think about it, right, there are multiple time frame participants in the market. Let's do a VWAP anchored to the year. That's gonna
Oh
seriously.
wow! Oh, next week's a big week.
Yeah, it is.
I'm just gonna lay it out there, man.
Um,
Get
VWAP.
some rust this weekend. I think next week is going to be. I mean, we could here, and I don't. My we could turn around and rally hard,
Yeah,
right?
100%.
It's 50-50. I mean, at the end of the day, for all of it, it's 50-50. Um, but wow,
Yeah, the market has
this
a
kind of reminds me of. Go ahead.
the market has a decision to make right here, right? Because if you were long all year and you're holding it, the market is back at your average price. So do you defend these prices or do we start to see profit taking again? I'm going to frame out the initial candle for the year. The high of it was, and is that the right one? Yep. High of the candle is
Looks
17,110. The low is 16,554, and that's on a daily. But again, VWAP from here, some of the selling that we're seeing in here is anyone who was in a long from this position and taking profits because we didn't make new all-time highs or we're starting to stair step lower. That profit taking could potentially bring us all the way back to this area. And of course, anything can and will happen. But this is very interesting going into the last, 4 months of the year.
and we've talked about it. We're coming into this election. I'm not getting political. It's just a fact. That's that has the potential to be a very very volatile time. Um, don't want to be short. I don't know many people who want to be short volatility.
Right.
Um, and it's only 2 months away.
100%.
Um,
We got a
and it's
question
picking up. Yes.
from David Woodson. Is this VWAP flat or is it going down? It's not going down. It's still just like the moving averages, coach, they're still in an uptrend. It's just that they may be flattening out a little bit, and maybe turning, right? We're seeing the time frame moving averages start to turn a little, where the 20 is below the 50, where again it just looks heavy.
And it didn't recover. The 20 stayed on that rally,
Right.
and now they're all curling.
Mm-hmm.
See, before when we hit that 20, they weren't curling; they were moving down. But feels heavy.
It does.
I mean, it feels really heavy. Interestingly, we're right at, I believe we're at 50% of that rally in August.
This rally here, I believe so. Let's see. Yep, just under it.
Oh, and that picked up in the last hour. But yeah, this
Right.
is market down. This is a key week. Next week,
And
rest up.
I don't want to be, the one to say, hey, the market's heavy, it's going down, because also look at the 200 moving average. Again, this is on a daily chart. We are going to go back to smaller time frames and talk about today's trades, but I think this is really interesting. Look at how many times the market actually hits the 200 moving average on the daily chart. Obviously, we hit it in August, the beginning of August, recovered it and had a decent rally. We already talked about that on lower volume. The last time before that was October 2023, and then before that, March of 2023. So, it's not something that happens often, and I think that's why we're spending so much time talking about it, because it's important, right? If the market, and again, this may just be a pullback. The 20 and the 50 moving average are still above the 200. So on a higher time frame, if you zoom out, it's still in an uptrend. It's just a
They're on
slowing
sale.
uptrend. Yeah, exactly.
They're on sale. Do you want to own it?
Yeah,
I told you I didn't fill up my tank all week. Probably the best trade I made.
right.
But that's another market for another story. So, at a critical juncture in in a technical term.
For sure. The ES looks a little bit stronger, and I'll switch over to the ES and we'll go down to the shorter time frame, because
What a
that is where we
difference.
took the trades in the house account. But yeah, definitely a big difference. Obviously, the Nasdaq more heavily tech weighted. So the how the Mag 7 goes, the Nasdaq is going to go a little bit faster. The ES, similar picture, but not as weak. And then I want to
Yeah,
go.
it's not even near the 200.
Nope. I want to go to the shorter time frame, and we will, again, I'm going to do, again, we see it, we're under Coach Paul's moving averages, under the 200, under the 50, under the 20. And I'm asking myself, Jay, why on fast markets were you guys trying to buy this today? And again, I want to preface that by saying, if you trade right, coach, and you say this all the time, you trade right, you don't have to be right. Dakota made over 100 grand this week only buying the market, and look at what the market did.
I that
Amazing.
just he's one. I can't say one. Yeah, he's one of a kind, man.
Yep.
I don't. He's good at what he does. I couldn't repeat it. I don't. He made $100,000 on a big down week. Good on him.
Yeah.
I mean, how many places this week did you get a chance to buy it? But
So
he's
you
wow.
can make money with a counter trend trade, but you have to be a trader, right? You cannot hold you can even hold on to a bias, but you can't say, hey, that every place on this chart is a good place to buy, because it's not. And if we look at the higher time frame trend, it's going down, right? This is a clear downtrend. I'm gonna fix this light this weekend. This is a clear downtrend, and you can lose money selling it. You can make money buying it. Your trade location really does matter. Again, looking at this higher time frame, VWAP, weekly VWAP, again, for me, I did this analysis with you guys all week. I got to be better at sticking to the overall context of the market and saying, hey guys, I know we're talking about buying it, but it hasn't worked all week at this weekly VWAP. Sell the market.
Coach, I did one other thing on that. Taking when we're I take one side of the market once in a while in day trading. I'm
Mhm.
finding I can take two and be wrong one side,
Yep.
but it's tricky. But I was Coach Dakota showed. He goes, "Look, this is all buying."
Mhm.
So on a down week, by taking one side of the market, he killed it.
Yep.
I think that's a huge, huge lesson. I find myself when I'm trying to buy low, sell high, I get my worst days because it becomes a relative term, and you stay out of. You can create a lot of trouble for yourself.
Mhm.
At least I have.
It's
So
it's funny. He messaged me after we got off of fast markets, and he was just like, "Man, I couldn't find a place to sell that." But funnily, he was up 5 grand buying this market today, um, which I'm just like, do what you do, man. You see the market a certain way. I even made the joke that we can inverse the charts, and if you still like it, then maybe we should just go short. But you know, I don't even know that that was really a joke. I call it one, but if you are a technical trader and you don't use anything else in your charts in your trading, right? If you don't use volume or anything like that, you're looking at technical patterns on whatever time frame. I wouldn't suggest trading that way, and I want to make that very clear. Don't leave your charts inverted and take trades. But if you're looking at technical patterns, you could flip your charts upside down. Uh,
I mean, you know what? It's perfect for bonds.
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, rising bonds,
right,
rising interest rates, and
yeah,
it's the complete opposite. Lower interest rates and the market's railing. It's all relative. Get in the flow.
yep. So here we go. We'll map out the day in the ES, and we'll talk about the house account trades. First thing I got framed out here, you guys already know it. The news candle, right? We had NFP out this morning. Uh, Again, lower than what was expected. Low of the candle on a 3-minute chart was 54.70. The high was 55.15. 50% of that was right around 54.93. Of course, we print the candle and we are going to just chop around until the market opens. But the market opens, again, we checked up towards that weekly VWAP, which was right around 55.35. I looked at the Topstep daily levels. Coach, all of us had some type of level up there, right? In that range. It was
Yep.
myself, you, Coach Ray, Coach Vince, Hogue. There was a level within 7 points that we all had on there. Another clear sign that, hey, it's important, right? And again, we say it all the time. Those levels aren't saying, hey, this is the trade that you take. But to me, and the way I look at these is pay attention to the market's reaction at these levels. We talked about this yesterday with the exhaustion at certain areas. The opening candle looks like that exhaustion that we talked about. That's the opening 3 minutes. It came at the high of this move from the news. Highest volume, no follow through. That is a clear distinction that this
Wait,
is a sell all day.
coach, that was the first 3 minutes. We made the high.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I didn't. Now we can. Now what I like to pay. Now we can put on another anchored VWAP
Hmm.
on that 3 minute.
Oh yeah, it's this red line right here. I'll make it. We'll make it green. We'll increase the font.
Oh, I didn't see it.
There it is.
Against, and it's under the weekly VWAP against. Mine was a pivot. It needed to get above that pivot.
Okay.
Okay. I think. Yeah. Look. What was the price? My pivot was 18,980.
18
I
9
had
80.
resist.
Did you have one in the ES?
Uh, ES. The pivot was 55.10.
55 10. All right, cool. I put that on there as well. That's that red horizontal line going across the chart. But yeah, we talked about this as well, coach. The anchored VWAP from the New York session open, leaving the range in the first 12 minutes of the day, that is a clear distinction of the market choosing a direction. Now, do we know that it's going to drop 2% in the ES? We don't, but it's the start of a trend. And if I'm reviewing the trades that we took, the first one was a buy, I believe, right around that 55.10 area that you had. Uh, we
Mhm.
bought it there. We were in the profit for a little bit, probably looking for more than we were going to get. But I really like the risk management on that, right? Where we said, hey, tight stop on this. We're going against the trend. And we know that if the market sells off, there's a lot of room below it. So I think the risk management on that initial trade, I think we were in 10 contracts. We lost about 3 grand on 10 contracts, which the 3 grand sounds like a lot, but I want to, keep it in perspective. The daily loss limit for that account is 50K. So that is a very small percentage. And I think really great risk management. I think what happened after that was where we probably could improve. And I'm saying this being a part of those trades, is identifying the flow and at least saying, hey, if we're going to buy it, we need to do it where the flow looks like it's stopping. And I think we were trying to catch the knife. We did mention potentially taking a short where we saw the market like this, right below 5,500, and maybe taking a short. Both Dakota and I saying, hey, it's a decent short, but where do you limit your risk on that short if the market does just pop back up? Not taking the trade, and in hindsight, that was the best trade location we were going to get on the day.
Coach, and I'm not criticizing it.
Yeah.
And I know this at mine is that sometimes we get attached to price.
Mm-hmm.
And what is
Yes.
the risk? At that point, to me, it still becomes 2 ATRs in your time frame.
Right.
If and I'm not criticizing, it's the more I see that action, that ATR, 2 ATRs. When I was on yesterday, we went 1 ATR, got ticked out.
Two
It's like
ATRs would have been safe.
2 ATRs would have been great.
Nice. There you go.
But in hindsight, but it's a consistent risk factor for me.
Nice.
But
So let's look at that, right? Let's look at that. That's not something that we've talked about since we've been on YouTube, Coach. I really like that. We know how often we've seen that when we were doing this class in Discord. We say, hey, 2 ATR risk, your stop is normally going to be out of the way. So let's just frame out that idea with Coach's 2 ATR stop in mind. So Dakota and I were talking about potentially getting a short under the daily VWAP, but we thought maybe we were selling it in the hole. When I looked at that in hindsight, it's not in the hole because we had the low of the news candle, which is a potential target. So again, reassess what your thought process is. But if we did get short here, Coach, at the time, the ATR on the ES for a 3 minute was 9 points. So we would have had an 18-point stop, which
just under it's $900, right?
say it again.
That's $900.
$900 with a one lot.
Per
We were
contract.
trading about 10, so that would have been a nine grand stop. And again, I really like that, right? Look how far this stop is out of the way, right? If we were getting short, when we said it, we were talking about 5,500. Can we short it here? Our stop would have been 55.18 and way out of the way. So a good way to look at your stop losses, if you have not, used ATR, again, we'll continue to do these. But I've been doing this segment with Coach Paul in Discord for a year. If you get good trade location, that 2 ATR stop is often very far out of the way. And Coach, you say it all the time, I don't have to let the market come to my stop.
No, there might be something that comes in.
Right.
I really like to try. I like continuation trades. I'm not really good at reversion. I just know that. So with that, I play for these longer extensions, which happen 20% of the time. It's the old 80-20 rule.
Right.
But something coming, you could let's say before that you close above that daily VWAP.
Yeah.
Out.
Out.
It might be $1,000 loser. All right.
Correct.
And then it comes back under and try it again. As I say, that 2 ATRs is usually a rejection. If I'm flying with the Blue Angels and something bad happens, I got an ejection seat.
Right.
Right. It's the same here. It doesn't have to get hit.
No, not at all.
But anything can happen in any moment.
And then where we ultimately started to look to buy again was the 50% of this news candle. We see the market kind of making a decision around here, but there's really no buying stepping in. Dakota called it himself. He said, there was really never a reversal signal. He looks for technical patterns, a 3-bar reversal. It's on a 3 minute. We didn't get one until here, uh, which was much lower. So I think we kind of just got caught. We got caught in a bias against the market and maybe just buying in bad spots. But that's trading. Sometimes that's going to happen. And that's why we have a stop loss and a daily loss limit for a reason. And again, we still haven't hit it. We want to get on the right side of the markets, and we will. But that is how those trades went. And then from there, we kind of just continued to sell off, right? Where are reasonable targets for this sell off if you were short, right? You're under VWAP. First one I would be looking at conservatively, coach, is the low of that news candle, right? 54.70, where the market showed a strong reaction. And then from there, look at this.
Look at this. Yeah, it's the J candle coming.
Yeah, this here,
I
and
saw that
we were
right
still
away.
on at this time. This is when Waller started to speak, right? So we did get in a long here.
Yes.
We were in the profit on that long, but again, I got to remind myself where my analysis goes. We are still under the daily VWAP. Saw Coach Vince mention that we were, still kind of playing around the initial balance, which again, if you don't know what the initial balance is, it's the first hour of trade. So 8:30 to 9:30 Central Time. You're just going to frame out that range. And the initial balance low was right here at 54.60. We can see it. The market traded back into the initial balance real quick, immediately accepted right back outside of it and said, nope, no, we're good. We don't want those prices. We're
And
just going to
that's
keep
the
going lower.
opening range for the 3-minute candle, news candle.
Yeah,
That's the low of the news candle.
correct.
Just to the tick. Boy.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, you do. You do know. But I just have to go. This is a classic. That's the J candle.
Yeah.
Look at that volume spike of buying.
Yep.
Biggest one. Was that big? That was the biggest volume
Of the
till
day.
that period, wasn't it?
Of the day
So let's
until the
think about
close.
this. That's a classic stop run.
Mm-hmm.
So the new sellers, weak sellers, put their stops at probably most likely in that range. We had some bullish gibberish from a talking Fed. I don't, because I don't think the Fed governors purposely try to break a
Move the market.
market.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, they don't. I mean, but whatever was interpreted, it shot out like a cannon. But that's the classic J candle. That is it. And the
Mm-hmm.
next one, we have selling.
Yeah.
Underneath that first candle,
Again, coach, we say
that's
it all
the
the time, right?
sell.
Even if you don't, yeah, this one, even if you don't sell it up here, right, on that rejection, because that could be the scary trade to take. Think about it. What you might be asking yourself to do. This market is under very heavy sell pressure. We rejected right at the low of the news. We spiked in 6 minutes, 42 points on the ES, which looks like a Nasdaq move, and you're asking yourself to sell it. And that would have been the best trade, but that's the scary one. That might be lower probability if there was follow through and continuation. But that's that exhaustion move again, coach, that we talked about. No follow through. Maybe you take it here, risk the highs. But once we get that close below it, this is the one we really love because this is a lot of times what leads to those extended moves. Close below, we short somewhere in it. We're talking 2 ATR stops at this point. And I saw a question about how do you measure ATR. I'll answer that. And actually, I'll let you answer that, coach. But 2 ATRs here would have been 20 points. Our stop would have been up here on a short in the hole. And there was a 2-to-1 trade in there at the lows. And again, look at the reaction when we get back up to that candle that looked like it was going to turn us around. So not only did it give you one opportunity to sell it, when it traded back up to it, there's another one and one more.
That's how many times have we seen this, Coach?
Uh,
We've been doing this for about a year.
I don't even know that there is a number that can count that high. We see it a
And
lot.
not just in stocks, by the way.
Correct.
But I love that. That is just becoming. I want to frame that up.
Yeah,
Anytime I see that, I'm going at it.
yeah, and what it is, it's just the market deciding that this range it's no longer going to trade. Um, right? The market doesn't forget price, and I think even coach, the one thing that I really love about this, we haven't looked at this price axis at all. I don't know what prices these were. I don't
Oh,
know.
I love to hear that, Coach, because I'm to a point where I don't know the price of just if you like this weekend of some. Well, where's the Nasdaq price wise?
Lower.
My guess is 19, 18 area. Couldn't tell you any more than that.
18,360,
But
and we do look at price on a higher time frame, but
yeah,
it's where the big volume comes in, and this is the way I read it, where the big volume comes in is going to dictate what prices matter.
bid, offer, size. Size moves the market. What is size?
Volume.
Volume. I
Yep.
hate the, discussions with to keep it as simple as possible
Hmm.
without getting one of the things. And I got there when I used to do Elliott Wave earlier, um, and then it got overcomplicated for me.
Yeah.
Like, okay, well, oh, and I'm not putting it down. If you can trade it, that's great. I just it got so complicated that I'm waiting for the perfect. You know, I didn't know. Like we said, prejudge. We talked yesterday. This looks really heavy. we just did look. We had the dead mosquito bounce. Um, and but I don't know that. But
Hmm.
as it goes in, and that's why working with you has been so great for me. Is it just showed me how to relative volume. And you just said it. That heck, even if you didn't sell, if you were late, just being patient, waiting for something like that, and we see it time and again,
Yep.
that was probably a better sell than trying to sell the high of the day.
Yeah, this is the confirmed one. Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you. Um, but again, downtrend, we closed. We actually didn't close below 5,400, but we are trading below 5,400 right now on that extended move that we saw after the close. Again, very heavy markets. Next week is going to be interesting for sure. If we're seeing expanded volatility, maybe the week to scale down, trade micros. If we're seeing expanded ranges, you don't need as much size on to make the same amount of money. So just keep that in mind.
Position sizing.
It matters. Uh, where are we going from here, Coach? Crude or gold?
Well, we missed a lot of gold yesterday.
Yep.
Let's go to crude.
Let's go to crude.
Wow, we're making new lows as we speak.
Yeah, I don't. These markets are broken. Um,
Oh,
here's the 30-minute on crude oil, and we've talked about this as well from a higher time frame perspective. Again, I'll anchor a VWAP to the week. I'm really starting to like that one. Uh, really starting to like that one. And Coach, oh, sorry, there was a question about how you measure ATR. There's an
oh
indicator
yes.
called average true range on any platform that you can trade. Uh, and basically what it is measuring the average ranges of candles in any given time frame. So, Coach, you want to explain a little bit about how you use ATR?
Yeah, and the measurement is taking the last 14 ranges, average them up, some summation, and come up with an average. And why? And it stays dynamic because it's looking 14 back. It's in a certain time frame where it's dynamic, it's up to date.
Yep.
But why? It's a measure of volatility. Markets breathe. We saw the average true range in the daily from July to August, almost triple in the Nasdaq. I believe went from 250, 260 to like 600, and then come back. What does that mean? That means right now, if you're in whatever time frame you're trading, it's good to know what wavelength, that is another word, that the market is in, the volatility,
Right.
what you can reasonably expect the swings to be. In a non-volatile market, you're going to have smaller ranges. It's just it's just the way it is,
Yep.
right? And
Yep.
that's why I like it. That's why I call it dynamic. In more volatile markets like we're having right now,
Yeah.
you need to know that and adjust because your risk is not the same. If your risk on a one lot, um, let's say beginning of the week,
Hmm.
um, and today can be difference between 200 and $300.
Right.
That's not a small amount.
Definitely not.
That's
And you
like,
think you're trading the same market, but the conditions have changed. Personality has changed.
yeah. That's why I really like poker
Mm.
as an anomaly for learning how to trade and take risk.
Okay.
Because at different stages of the game in poker, it, it costs more to stay in the game, right? It isn't the same. It isn't 1 to 1.
Yeah.
It
When the blind
moves
goes up.
when the blind goes up,
Yep.
and it you have to adjust. You have to adjust your risk or your betting. Um, so knowing the average true range gets you in tune with how volatile the market is at any moment. I think that's the best way I can put it.
Yep.
Without that, coach just said you're just a different this market is different now.
Yeah.
And today's swings, you saw it. I mean, that the one candle we just looked at in the S&P, I mean, that was 25 points
In 3 minutes.
in 3 minutes. That's what, now you put that in the summation, and that's going to keep that, that's realistic. I mean, that's what can happen in the market.
Yep. Yeah. And so I'm seeing some questions about ATR. Guys, keep it really simple, right? Tony, I see your question, but if you are setting a stop for two ATRs, how do you determine that? So let's just look at this right here. I'm trading the Nasdaq. I'm sorry, I'm looking at the ES. I'm trading the ES, and most of my entries happen on a 3 minute chart. So I'm going to use whatever chart I use to enter my trades. That's where I'm going to measure the ATR for my stop. So I'm entering on a 3 minute. I'm going to use the 3 minute ATR. Let's say I was getting in a long right here at 54.35. At the time of that trade, the ATR, one ATR is 6 points. So I'm just going to multiply that by 2, 12 points. So I'm getting long here. My stop is going to be 12 points. The ATR is 6, multiply by 2, that's 12.
That's $600 on a mini.
Yep.
If
60 on
that's
it.
not what you want to risk, you can do micros.
Yep.
And why one other thing to understand, if you're using one ATR, and if you get stopped, if you get stopped out a lot and you get frustrated because you missed the bigger move and you get stopped out a lot, well,
Mhm.
your stops are too tight,
Right.
which can be very, I've done that. It can be very frustrating because I only want to risk 50 and I'm going to make 500.
Right.
When you're risking half an ATR, right? It's not.
You're not. So the reason we're using that ATR, coach, again, I've learned this from you. You're giving the market the space that it needs to do its natural movement.
Yeah,
Right. You
natural
are
variation.
natural variations in the market. They're going to happen on a 3 minute. Let's just measure. Right here, I have a 5 ATR on the ES. Each one of these candles is about 5 points. On average, I can expect 5 points of movement in a 3 point candle, 3 minute candle at this time. So if my stop is going to be 2 points and I don't have the daredevil precision trade location, I'm going to get stopped out just based on the natural movement of the market. Right. So unless I can top tick and bottom tick every entry, I need to give the market space to do what it's going to do, and then fit my trade around that. If the ATR sounds too expensive, right? If I have to give the Nasdaq 60 points because that's the volatility that is changing, the adjustment I make isn't tightening my stop. It's trading a contract size that allows my account to participate in the markets and breathe.
And breathe. Let the market breathe. You don't have to.
Yeah.
What was? Well, I have to go back and check that. That needs to be carved out in a stone.
Yeah, for sure. And I've seen some questions, classes on ATR. Uh, to be honest, rewatch the last 15 minutes we just talked about. I don't know that it can get much clearer than that. Maybe we can focus on
Well,
it in a specific segment.
maybe we'll do that on Discord.
Yeah, there we go. We can do it on Discord, more of a deep dive if you want to ask more specific questions. Because there are different ways that you can use it. I don't want to spend too much more time here doing that, but we'll think about that, Coach. Let's do a Discord class. We'll let everyone know when we're going to do that. We can get back to doing those as well. But back to
All
crude.
right. I'm glad there's a lot of questions. Obviously, it's people didn't know about it.
Right,
Highly recommend it.
for sure.
For position sizing, number one. All right.
Agreed. Crude oil, we got about 15 minutes left. Let's talk about crude. Here's the weekly VWAP. Again, green line there. I'm going to be putting that on my chart every week for the rest of the time that I'm trading. Uh, um, that might be an
Yeah.
exaggeration, but I really like it, right? It's giving us a picture of what happened this week. And again, we can see it in crude. We try to kind of trade it up towards it. It's been a resistance all week. And then we have today, we had the major level of 70, where, Coach, we talked about we hadn't closed below 70 at all this year until this week. So now what's support becomes resistance. And that's exactly what it looks like today, right? We traded up
Jesus.
into it during a little bit of a decent uptrend into in the London session. There is a trade here. It's a dollar move in crude, but rejecting right at that major level is where the market, and we see the volume increase, and they said, no, guys, sorry.
I got some oil for you.
Yeah,
I found some. There was some in the yard. I had some in the garage, at the summer home. They came from everywhere.
right.
You know what's
Um,
interesting right here on volume, Coach? That big fat volume, the middle finger volume on the
this one,
selling
this 30-minute here.
versus what we saw. This is selling that was never challenged.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And just that is understand, look at that and understand it. Where that big volume yesterday on the buying, when it failed, breaking the low, and just collapsed.
So
Um,
two
so
candles
when
coach
you
is
look at
talking
that,
about here. I'm going to make this one blue so we can see it. He's saying this one was challenged because market came back to those prices and they couldn't hold it. And then we got the one here where the market just agreed. Is that right, Coach?
yep, and even it continued, even
Yeah.
though and coming into the close. By the way, I don't trade, especially crude, the last few minutes. Just don't. Um, that's not our job. If you want to get out of position, yeah, but I just been around a long time. It's not for um it's a dark alley, I'll just put it that way.
There you go. Let's go to a shorter time frame in crude and let's just kind of see what this looks like. And here we go, Coach. That one that you were saying wasn't that got challenged yesterday is right around where that 70 area was as well. We traded back into that blue rectangle, tried to trade above 70. Let's look at the volume patterns at 70. That doesn't look very convincing. Right, if
And
we have
then
it this
again, yeah. What was the 8 o'clock? Was that the big volume?
8 o'clock is here, 8 Central. That's the open. And again, if you were a buyer on this, you had a decent trade, right? You had a 50 point opportunity, 60 point opportunity to take a trade in the first hour of the market. And we talked about this a
So,
little bit yesterday, Coach, not having to get the market direction right in order to take a trade. Go ahead.
that you just took the words. It's 50 points, 40.
Yeah,
You got 40 points
I'll take
in
it.
there. Someone's paying you $400 a day.
I will take it.
Would you take the job?
Yep. So
So,
before that rejection happens, there is an opportunity for a long here, right? And if we, depending on what time frame you're looking at, right? This is a decent trade. But then where does it start to reject? And if I was long here, again, we want to look at both sides because we know traders are going to potentially trade both sides. If you were long in this trade, the one thing you have to realize is that you're counter trend the higher time frame trend, right?
yeah.
These all kind of fit into each other. So on a 3 minute, yeah, great buy. On a 30 minute, you might want to take your profits sometime soon because we've been selling off. So identify where your trade is in the overall flow of the market. And if it's counter trend, fine. But know that the outcome of your trade is going to be smaller than the trader that's going with the trend, and adjust accordingly, right? Where I can say, yes, there's probably 30 to 50 ticks of profit in a trade before I need to think about taking profits. You took the long up here. That's a great day. $400, like Coach just said, $500. Awesome. Close it out. I only
What
wanted
was
to
the
buy it, and I go away.
what was the high?
The high of the day was 70.13.
So, just on that 70-13, we talked about, you just said it how many times? 70.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a resistance. If sometimes you hold it. If got over 7, I'd get out at 70. Period. I'm done.
Yeah, same.
If I'm up $400, or let's see, actually, for day trading, if you do, like I said, boy, that was $500 in what, half an hour?
Half an hour. Yep.
Okay, see ya.
Yeah. Look for the next opportunity
I
or look for something to do to start the weekend.
Yeah. We talked about one of the things that I'm learning. I'm by nature a swing trader. Day trading, I get expectations that are much larger than realization sometimes. So
Right.
taking 500 here, and then taking you could do this and an S&P and lose money in the gold and still be up $700.
100%. And then just a nice rejection. Again,
Wow.
crude is looking very heavy. We talked about on the daily chart, and I know we got about 5 minutes left. We may not spend too much time on gold. It's sold off a little bit. But crude on the daily is coming down to this candle that we talked about that set the lows for 2023. I think right now we are probably at 50% of that candle. And the low of the candle is 63.30. The high is 69, and we're starting to accept in that candle. Let's see where we're at. Not quite at 50% yet. 50% is at 66.30. But this, again, looks very heavy. Looks very heavy.
Well, let's get to the shiny gold,
Let's
the
do it
shiny metal.
real quick. Um, Coach, I'm going to throw this question to you from Greg. Is there confluence in commodities that do not exist with indices?
Confluence. Um,
I'm trying to make sense of that question real quick. I know there's something
well,
there.
th- um, if I'm getting this right, and I might let me know if I'm wrong.
Hmm.
Um, Commodities cycle more than equities. Equities are made to go up,
Yeah,
so commodities are seasonal. And so they go up and down. They're more based on supply and demand. Um, versus equities, which, if equities go down, my God, the world's going to end. We've
Yeah.
got to take money from the Federal Reserve. And seriously, I don't want to go. They're made to go up, and commodities are made to fluctuate. It's pure supply and demand. My feeling, though, is as a trader, understand that, get a process, follow a process that's bathed in risk management.
And I think what Greg might have meant, and I think kind of clarifying it, was not confluence, but correlation. If one moves, then the other moves. Um, and if you want, where's that MRCI? There's a website that Hogue shares all the time. I will put the link in Discord, in my Discord room. I'll put the link to that for correlated markets, and you can see how they move in relation to each other, and you can change the time frame. So in the last 30 days, are they correlated? In the last 6 years, are they correlated? I personally don't look at correlations that way and trade each market as its own, but I know some traders do. Let's go gold real quick, and then I want to answer a question from Cap. Um, Cap, I thought that was a really good question. Uh,
Oh, wow.
yeah.
I lost a little bit in gold today.
Oh
And
yeah.
that was, I traded a micro. I lost $100, and I feel really good about it.
Nice. Um, Here's gold. This is framed out and again, we'll go to the higher time frame first. We've been talking about gold being imbalanced, maybe potentially testing that all-time high sometime soon. But if we look on the 30-minute, the moving averages still kind of wrapped around each other, not really directional over the past 2 weeks. But if we go to a shorter time frame, we have that news candle, coach, and it set the high for the day. Each
Yep.
market is going to respond differently to it, but again, presenting opportunities. At this high, there's no buying volume above it. At this point, gold is open because gold opens at 7:20 Central. So all the volume that we're going to see is here, and they didn't like it.
There's the J candle. There it is.
Yep.
There, that's the classic. There's the big volume, and but then we get below that initial selling after,
Yeah.
and that's leaning against, that's leaning against that high.
100%. And then let's see,
Wow.
right? Let's say we did take the short here, right? Where we get candle close outside of it. We take the short, we go with a 2 ATR stop. At this time, ATR was 4.3 points on a 3-minute candle. That means our stop would have been 9 points. And if you took the trade, you got stopped out. And that's trading. Does this fit in your budget for risk? That's the question. Because we're not always going to get it right. Right? Where this looks like the clean setup that we talked about, at some point you did have a trade in profit. And this is why I like to say assess how good of a job the market is doing at what you expect it to do. If you took the short and you didn't get your follow through, do you want to take profits off, or do you want to just leave the stop where it is and you trust it? It's trade management question, right? How do you manage your trades? But at one point, there was a trade in profit here. If you want to hold because you have a longer profit target, just understand the market may go back against you and stop you out. But if I see it stop at
Coach,
50% like that, I'm taking the trade again.
look at that when you put that volume against that first candle.
This one,
And I think this is basically where I got out this morning. I did a micro, and I was really bullish. And it got under that, yeah, that one.
this one here,
Uh, no, to
the news candle.
VWAP, the news candle. You put the VWAP. We closed under VWAP, and
Got
it
you.
was, yeah, that's it.
I'm
That
out.
was it.
Yeah,
If it's going to be good, and now let's think about this. That was big buying, right? If that buying is good, you shouldn't close below VWAP.
right.
It's because it's telling you the buyers either did it all at once, or it could have been stops.
Hmm.
One of the things Pete Stottlemyre taught me is like, the better way to look at it is instead of looking for highs and lows, see where the buyers stop buying. That's a classic right
Yeah.
there.
Yep. Yeah, that's
They,
exactly it. They stopped. They were not there. Even
they
on these bounces, and I see some traders saying, like Greg said, triple bottom here, easy long trade. You're right.
yeah.
That's a pattern that you see. That's a nice trade. 18 points to the opposite direction. I'd take that all the time too. Um, was the flow of the market agreeing with you? No, but it was also stopping at this point. So why not, right? Failed sellers become buyers, and that's why you get a move like this. And that's a really nice trade.
And also, what's your risk when is it the third? I don't, do you go in and buy it against that price? And what's your risk?
Right.
So, yeah, that's a good if that if you can get pull that off, know your risk.
Then you're Dakota making 100 grand only buying a market that's free falling. So we are close to time. We're kind of at time right now. I did want to answer the question from Cap. Cap, hopefully you're still here. And a legitimate question that we've been seeing from a lot of traders. Are you guys losing in the house account on purpose? I will be the first to say that as somebody who has been part of that house account process. Can guarantee you that anyone that you see on that screen is not trying to lose on purpose. What I will say, I haven't seen it anywhere else on YouTube, at least, where there's a group of traders collectively trying to come to a trade idea and take it in an account. It's a really hard thing to do. And I've been doing this for the past 4 or 5 months. Sometimes we get it right and sometimes we get it wrong. I think first we are drilling down the process and we're working on that process. And then again, we're taking sometimes 3, 4 traders with different views of the market and trying to consolidate that into one, something that has not been done before. I think with the people that we have here, once we get it right, it's going to look great, and we'll see it turn around. And that's a goal for a lot of us. So no one here is trying to lose on purpose. I don't even know why someone would do that. Like, what kind of evil genius brain would you have to even think of that, to do that?
Money laundering.
Right. But yeah, we
And
are.
that ain't happening here.
No, definitely not. We are trying to win these trades and we will get on the right side of winning these trades. And I actually can't wait for it. So stay with us, stay tuned. And again, anything you see on the show, anything Coach Paul and I say are for educational and sometimes entertainment purposes. But it is not intentionally trying to lose. I will say that for everyone who has been a part of this process, everyone at Topstep, sometimes you lose trades. Sometimes we win trades as well. We've been in a little bit of a cold streak, but that happens. We're increasing size. There's a bunch of things going on. We will figure it out as a team, and I cannot wait for that to happen. Coach, you got anything before we go into the weekend?
Get some rest this weekend. I expect my expectations can be a very busy week next week.
Yeah.
Review your trades, winning or losing this week. Um, get your process and then go out, do something you enjoy, get some rest, and be ready to battle again come Sunday night. What do we have Sunday night? Is Nick for a tick, right?
Nick for a tick with the Sunday kickoff. Um, in line with football kickoff as well. Season started yesterday. But Nick Fortick, 4:45 Central Time with the Sunday kickoff to start the markets. I would suggest, if you have not seen that segment, to definitely watch it. I speak to Nick a lot. I love the way he looks at the markets. And if you watched last week's Sunday kickoff, the market kind of did what one of Nick's expectations, right? We were in balance. We're going to break this balance some way. We broke it to the downside, and seeing that movement. So I would suggest checking that out if you haven't, because it is a great segment and I'm always there for it. Real quick before we go, Linda Rashke on Topstep TV. We had her on Tuesday. That segment is now clipped out as its own video on Topstep's YouTube, so you can check that out. I would suggest watching it. Next week, Coach Dakota is doing a takeover of Topstep TV Wednesday through Friday. I think I'm going to be joining him for a couple of those days, or at least a couple hours. And then stats analysis. I don't have the link. Oops, sorry. But next week, I will share the link. If you want your stats to be analyzed on Topstep TV, you're going to fill out that form. The team's going to take a look at it, and either during shoulder tap or another segment, the team is going to review your trades. I want to thank everybody for joining us this week. Hopefully you learned something. Hopefully we're helping you along your trading journeys. If you haven't done so already, go ahead and hit that thumbs up button. Tell your friends and family to subscribe. Coach, you have a great weekend. I'm going to go do something fun. I don't even know what yet, but I'll make sure it's fun.
All right. Have a great weekend.
Have a great weekend, everybody. We'll talk to you next week. Thanks.